You're standing in a field, and there in front of you is this enormous balloon, just laying there on the ground, still, silent. Something feels familiar about it, like you've seen it before, like maybe you've been inside it. What if I told you that balloon is your spiritual self? And what if I told you today we're going to figure out why it's grounded and exactly how to get it back in the air? Welcome to Mystical Journeys with Jase. Welcome back, fellow traveler. If you're new here, glad you found your way to this episode. And if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you for staying on this path with me. Today, we're going to get into something that I think about a lot, something that I feel is one of the most important and overlooked aspects of spiritual growth: the foundation. Before you can soar, you have to get the balloon off the ground. I want you to close your eyes for just a minute, or if you're driving, keep them open. But I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're standing outside somewhere. It's a little uncomfortable. Maybe the ground is uneven, standing on some loose rocks. Maybe there's a heat source nearby that's maybe just a little too warm. You're not in pain, but you're not fully at ease either. That low grade discomfort, that's where a lot of us live spiritually without knowing it. We've dealt with the foundational stuff, so everything's built on top of it, a little wobbly, a little unstable. Today we're going to fix that, or at least we're going to start. So let's get into it. The hot air balloon. Years ago, when I was teaching a class, I used a metaphor that seemed to really land with people. I've come back to it again and again since then because I think it captures something true about how spiritual growth actually works. It's not a straight line upward, it's more like getting a hot air balloon off the ground. And there's very specific steps to the process. Here's what I want you to picture: you're standing in a field, and there in front of you is a massive hot air balloon laying on its side on the ground. It used to fly. You can tell by just looking at it, but right now it's grounded. And when you look closely, you start to see why. There's some rips in the fabric. There are a couple of tears. Some of them are small, almost invisible unless you get up close. Some of them are pretty big and obvious. The balloon has been through some stuff. That balloon, that balloon is your spiritual self, your energetic body, your capacity for growth and elevation. In other words, that balloon is you. Step one: patching the rips and tears. The very first thing you have to do before anything else is patch that balloon. If you can't fill it with air, if there's holes in it, the energy is just going to leak right back out. So you ground the whole thing, every seam, every panel, and you patch what's broken. Now, in life, those rips and tears can look like a lot of different things. They look like belief systems you inherited from your family or your culture that no longer serve who you're becoming. They look like the voice in your head that says, maybe you're not smart enough, not spiritual enough, not far enough along. They look like old wounds you haven't fully addressed, relationships that left you feeling diminished, experiences that made you close yourself off. Patching those holes doesn't mean you have to go through years of therapy before you can make any progress. Though if therapy is available to you and you need it, please definitely take it. But what it means is you start to become aware of where you're leaking energy. Where are the places in your life where you feel drained after? Where are the situations that pull you back into an older, smaller, less evolved version of yourself? Start there. Awareness is the first patch. Okay, let's take a look at some of the holes. Here's a couple of holes to give you some examples. Here's the first one: believing you're not good enough to do this. believing that you're getting started very late on your path here, and believing that other people are so much better at this than you are. And why should I do anything about this? Keep in mind, a lot of these beliefs right now are holding you back. They're the things that were part of your programming that caused you to think that really you can't do this. Somebody somewhere might have hurt you. Well, guess what? I'm going to remind you of a couple of things. Okay. The past is a memory, the future is a fantasy. The only thing that exists right now, and it's what people call the present. Something to think upon right now is you can't fill something with air if there's already holes in it. Awareness and effort are going to be the first patch. Step two, let's build the basket. Okay, so now the balloon itself is in a little bit better shape, but here's the thing. Even a perfectly intact balloon needs a basket. The basket is your container. It's the structure that catches what you're doing, holds your progress, and gives the whole thing a foundation to stand on. Your basket is made up of your practices, people around you. Here's a question. Are you journaling? Are you taking time to write down your insights, your realizations, your questions? Because a thought you don't capture often disappears. You might feel something profound in the morning, and by the time you've had breakfast, answered a couple of emails, yep, it's gone. The journal is part of your basket, and that's how you hold on to what you're receiving. Your basket also includes a small network of people that you can actually talk to about this stuff. I'm not saying you need a big spiritual community. So if you find one that feels right, that's beautiful. I'm talking about maybe one or two people, a friend, mentor, somebody you met in a class or online, somebody you can bounce some ideas off with without feeling so judged. People who don't look at you sideways when you say something about energy or intuition or inner work. That matters a lot more than you realize. If you don't have a group of people to bounce ideas off, just stay tuned. I'm going to get into an entire episode where we're going to discuss building a spiritual network of friends. Now, here's the part that people don't always want to hear. The basket may have some holes in it as well. You might look around at the people closest to you and realize that some of them are actually not in the basket at all. They're outside it, just tugging at it, adding weight to it. And that leads us to the rocks. Cutting away the rocks. Even if your balloon is patched and your basket is solid, there's one more thing holding you down, and that's the bag of rocks tied at the bottom of the basket. These are the things, the habits, the relationships, thought patterns that are actually pulling you back towards the ground. No matter how much hot air you pump into that balloon, if you've got enough rocks that are weighing you down, you're not going to get very far. So let's talk about the rocks. You know what? Let's just name them. The ego rock. This is the biggest one. And it's sneaky because the ego doesn't present itself as an obstacle. It presents itself as common sense. It says, hey, look at all these other people who've been doing this for decades. Who are you to think you can't get there? You're just getting started. You can't do what they do. I'm going to look so stupid if I try this. Yeah, you know the dialogue. We've all had it. The ego's job, and I want to be clear, the ego isn't evil. It's just doing its job. Its job is to try to keep you safe. And to the ego, safe means familiar. Safe means staying right where you are. Safe means not taking risks, not embarrassing yourself, not stepping into the territory where you might fail or look foolish. But spiritual growth, by definition, it requires you to go somewhere you've never been. It requires the exact kind of novelty and uncertainty that the ego hates. So you're going to have moments where that ego gets really loud, where it tells you, this is silly. This podcast is not going to help you. You don't have time for this. Other people are just better at this kind of thing than you are. Why are you wasting your time? When that voice shows up, I want you to just go ahead and thank it. Actually, yes, quietly in your mind, say, thank you. I hear you. I know you're trying to protect me. And then do the thing anyhow. Keep listening. Keep reading. Keep growing. Ego loses a little bit of its grip every single time you choose expansion over comfort. Just another reminder, spiritual growth, by definition, requires you to go somewhere you've never been. And that's exactly what the ego hates. The physical body rock. Let's talk about the physical for a moment. Because so many people in spiritual circles, they just want to skip past it. They want to talk about energy and consciousness and higher states of awareness while completely neglecting the vessel that carries all of it. And I get it. I understand the appeal of treating the body as almost irrelevant. Like, it's just a temporary show. But in my experience, the physical and the spiritual are not separate. They're deeply, fundamentally intertwined. When your body is stiff and sluggish and running on processed food and no sleep, your spiritual practice suffers. Your ability to be present suffers. Your ability to access quieter parts of yourself gets more difficult. The body rock in your bag might look like sedentary lifestyle, might look like dietary choices that leave you kind of foggy and heavy. It might look like a chronically tense jaw or shoulders that are up around your ears, places where you're holding a lot of stress and have been holding for years. Now, I want to be very clear. If you're dealing with a physical condition, a disability, chronic illness, and pain, this is not about pushing through it or bypassing what your body needs. It's the opposite. It's about working with what you have. If your legs don't work the way you like, then what can you do with your arms? If you're managing fatigue, what's a gentle, subtle practice look like for you specifically? The point is, don't ignore the body. Take care of the body. Try to make an adjustment on it. Just work with yourself a bit. Clean up that diet. Stretch a little bit. Walk. Get a few things in order. Here's a couple things to think about. Yoga, walks in nature, stretching, dancing in your kitchen. Whatever it is, keep the physical moving. A body in motion supports a mind in expansion. Cut that rock loose. Move the body. It's going to help move the spirit. The distraction rock. This one is enormous in the modern world. I think it's the one that a lot of people underestimate. We live in an environment that is quite literally engineered to steal your attention. Your phone, your social feeds, the news cycle, the endless stream of content. All of it is competing for the same mental and energetic space that your spiritual practice needs. I'm not going to tell you throw your phone into the river or go live in a cabin in the woods. That's really not practical for most people. But what I will ask you to do is to start noticing the quality of your attention after you spend an hour scrolling, versus you spent maybe 20 minutes sitting quietly or journaling or being in nature. There's definitely a difference and you can feel it. Distraction is a rock because it prevents you from going deep. And deep is where the real growth happens. The surface is loud, it's fast, it's overstimulating. The deeper levels are quiet, slow, and require some sustained attention. Every time you choose to go deep, even for 10 minutes, you're cutting a little bit more weight from the bag. The people pleasing rock. Here's the one that doesn't get talked about enough in spiritual circles. The weight of over accommodating the people around you at the expense of your own growth. This is not about becoming selfish or cold. This is about recognizing if you're constantly available to everyone else's needs and agendas, you will not have time for the energy for your own inner work. We talked a few episodes back about the power of neutral. Using neutral is not about becoming indifferent to the people in your life. It's about regulating your access and your energy. It means you don't have to answer every call. You don't have to engage every single debate. You don't have to justify your spiritual path to people who aren't ready to understand it. You can love someone and also limit how much of your sacred time and energy you give them in any given week. Some of the people in your basket, the ones who are genuinely there to support you and your growth, they're going to understand. They'll even celebrate when you set those limits. The ones who get angry when you take time for yourself, yeah, you know who they are. That's information, not judgment, just information. The comparison rock. The last rock I want to name today, and this one is particularly insidious because it hides behind the appearance of inspiration, is comparison. You start listening to podcasts, you start reading about people who have had all these incredible mystical experiences, people who've meditated for 3 hours a day and they have visions and feel energy moving through them and guides speak to them. Instead of feeling inspired, you feel behind. I want you to hear me very clearly on this. Your path is your path. The pace at which you grow is exactly right for you. I've been on this journey for a long time, and I can tell you that the moments of the most profound growth in my life were not the dramatic ones. They were quiet. They were small shifts in perception that happened over time. They were realizations that crept up on me slowly, and suddenly everything looked different. You're not behind. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Cut that comparison rock loose. All right, you've patched the balloon, built a solid basket, and you've started cutting away the rocks. Now, now we can talk about adding the hot air. The hot air is your effort, and it's everything you're consciously choosing to do to fuel your growth. The meditation practice, even if it's only 5 minutes in the morning. The podcast episodes you've been listening to during your commute. The books you're working through. Conversations you're starting to have with people who are a little further along the path. The moments where you choose to pause before responding. Take a breath before speaking. To ask yourself, what's really going on beneath the surface of the situation? All of that is the hot air. Yes, energy. All of it counts. And here's the beautiful thing about the hot air in a nice patch balloon with a solid basket and a lighter load of rocks. It works. Balloon begins to rise, maybe slowly at first, but it rises. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to consistently do something. Consistently is the hot air that lifts you. I want to encourage you to think about your spiritual practice less as a grand undertaking and more as a daily gentle commitment. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to consistently do something. A few minutes of stillness every day can do more for you over 6 months than one full day of classes. Which is easier to do right now? 1 minute of calm reflection, couple of adjustments, or spending your time worrying about whether you can make it to a 1 hour class that's a really long drive away from you. Consistency is of effort is the hot air that lifts you. Rising up, the view changes. Here's the part I really like to talk about most because this is what keeps me going and what I hope will keep you going too. Once you get that balloon off the ground, even a little bit, even just a few feet, the view starts to change. You start to see things that you couldn't see from ground level. You start to recognize patterns in your life that were basically invisible before. You start to notice synchronicities. You start to feel a sense of what I can call spaciousness. Like there's more room inside than there used to be, more room for perspective, compassion, for creativity, especially for peace. As your balloon energy rises up in the air at different altitudes, you start to find out that there's other balloon riders, other people on the path. Some of them have been flying for decades. Some just got off the ground not too long ago, but they're there as well. And when you find them, there's definitely going to be recognition. Quiet knowing that says, you're doing this too. It might be that neighbor you always thought was a little bit odd, the older woman who keeps unusual hours, maybe even has some crystals in her window. And one day you end up talking to her and you realize she's one of the most grounded and insightful people you've ever met. It might be someone who you find through a podcast or a book or a chance conversation at the coffee shop. These connections don't always look like what you expect a spiritual community to look like. They come in all ages, all backgrounds, all levels of formal education. But they'll feel right. Your tribe is out there, and the higher you rise, the more clearly you're going to be able to see them. Reflections for the week. Before we close out today, I want to give you something to spend some time with. Just a few questions to carry you through the week. So you don't have to answer them right away. Just let them percolate. First, where are the holes in your balloon? Where are those old belief systems? The old stories about yourself? The places where you're still leaking a lot of energy? Just name one. You don't have to fix it today, but just see it. Second, what does your basket look like right now? Do you have at least one practice? Journaling, meditation, taking a walk in nature, something that helps you to hold your growth. Do you have at least one person you can talk to about this journey? If the answer to either of those is no, what's one small step you can take this week? Third, which rock is weighing you down the most right now? Is it ego, physical, distraction, the people pleasing rock, comparison? Pick the heaviest one and acknowledge it. That acknowledgement is the beginning of cutting it loose. If you forgot about the power of neutral, go back to one of the earlier episodes and listen again. Use that power to limit the access of the rocks that are weighing you down. As you limit that access, eventually you'll be able to set that rock aside and it won't be a part of your bag anymore. And finally, what does your hot air look like? What does your energy look like? What are you already doing, even if it seems small? What are you doing that's helping to fill your balloon and give energy to your life? Give yourself some credit for it. It counts. All of it counts. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The flight of 1,000 feet begins with a single patch, single basket, and a single rock cut loose. Closing. Until next time. Thank you for being here. This episode of Mystical Journeys of Jase. I say it every time because I mean it every time. I don't take it lightly that you chose to spend your time with me. There's a million podcasts out there and a million places your attention could go, and you brought it here. That means something. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you shared it with just one person who might need to hear it. I'm not here to build the numbers or the stats, but just because there's somebody out there that needs to hear it, they're not behind. Maybe their balloon can still fly. That's the foundation that they need, and it's closer than you think. Keep hatching, keep building. Definitely keep your awareness flowing. Keep cutting away those rocks. Get those rocks loose. I'll see you in the sky. Thank you.